Hi everybody, welcome to Aimee Nolte Music. Are you dreaming? Or is it the whole tone scale? It's the whole tone scale. Today we're talking about the whole tone scale. Doesn't it sound like a dream? That's where I think you hear it most. In movies when we're talking about a dream sequence or something. And I think the reason it gets used during the dream sequences is because it feels very unsettling. There's actually no tonal center to a whole tone scale. If I make a whole tone scale in G like I was just playing, G doesn't necessarily sound stronger than any of the other notes. Maybe it does because I start on a G. But I'll tell you why that's the case, that it's so unsettling and every note just seems kind of equal and floating. It's because to build a whole tone scale, you only use whole steps. So every single note is just as far away from the last as the next one. It's a scale built up of only 6 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the interesting thing about it, well, there's several interesting things about it, but to me, the most interesting thing is that there are only 2 of them. If we were to come up to an A flat and do the exact same thing, whole step, whole step, whole step, we play every other note in the chromatic scale. We play all of the 12 notes. If I do that, I can hold on to every one of these notes with my left hand. These are the notes of a G whole tone scale, or an A whole tone scale, or a B, or a C sharp, or a D sharp, or an F whole tone scale. If I take my other hand and I play the other notes, I don't think I can quite grab them all. But you can see that these 6 notes are different than all of these 6 notes. It's kind of hard to see these scales for that reason, I think. Today, my purpose will be to help you hear the way that these scales sound and be able to see them easier, to make sense of them in your head and in your hand easier. I also like to refer to the whole tone scale as the Thelonious Monk scale because he used it probably more widely than any other musician, I think, maybe in music's history. Art Tatum used it quite a bit too. But the Thelonious Monk actually would write compositions with the whole tone scale in mind. You can hear it in Trinkle Tinkle. It's just Monk, all wrapped up in a nice bow, isn't it? He took these kind of notes from the whole tone scale. This is like a G whole tone scale. And played them in triads, and then he dropped to the next scale, like the A flat whole tone scale, and then he dropped to the other one again. The ability to be able to take these scales and play them interchangeably like that says a lot about Monk's brain capacity, I think, and also his oral capacity to be able to hear those sounds and want to dive into them and be able to call on them at any point. Check this out. Say we build a C whole tone scale. And we break it up into triads like we've been doing. So we play one, we skip one. Do this with me. We play one, we skip one, and we play one. We end up with what kind of a triad? That's right, it's an augmented triad. What if we take the next note, a D, and we do the same thing? Play one, skip one, play one, skip one, play one. Well, that's another augmented triad. And what if we do the next one? Play one, skip one, play one, skip one, play one. It's another augmented triad, but it's the exact same one that we started with. So the only 2 triads that we can build out of this scale are augmented triads, and there's only 2 of them. And then they just keep repeating. Can you see that? And can you hear it? It's very interesting. Same thing, if we move it up, if we try that whole thing a half step higher, here are our notes: whole step, whole step, whole step, whole step, whole step, whole step. Play these three, and then play these three, and we have them all. 2 more augmented triads. So basically we have this one, and this one, and that's one kind of sound, and then we have, and those are all the augmented triads that we can possibly have on the piano. Just, we're thinking about them in a different kind of way. So today, the first thing I'd like to do is to play these scales. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Try it with me. 1, 2, 1. 3 black notes in a row. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1. 2, 3, 4, 5. And back down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1. Can we try it? Ready, and... And then with the same scale, I'd like us to try our triads. That one first, this one second, and then the inversions. And we'll just do 1, 3, and 5 all the way up. Let's go kind of slowly. C augmented, D augmented, E augmented, F sharp augmented, G sharp augmented, B flat augmented, and back to C augmented. Now let's go backwards. It's tricky to see the keyboard that way, isn't it? You're doing great, though. Keep it up. Now, the next whole tone scale we're going to play is D flat. The way we can remember the fingering for this scale is to put your thumb on F and your thumb on B. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And back down. 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2. Can we try it in time? Ready, and... And now the triads. D flat, augmented. E flat, augmented. F augmented. G augmented. A augmented. B augmented. And back to D flat augmented. And back down. And when we say them coming down, we can actually just use the top note. We can say A augmented, G augmented, F augmented, E flat augmented, D flat augmented, B augmented, A augmented. A augmented is the same as D flat augmented, just with a different note on the bottom. All right, now I'd like to try back to the C. And I'd like to take a little cue from Thelonious Monk, how he went. The last thing I'd like to do takes these thirds and puts them into practice in a little exercise. It goes like this. I'd like to use 2 hands to do it. Sounds like that. So we go up, up, down, 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 up. And then we move to the next one. Kind of figure out your fingering as we go about it. Let's start all over. I'm not interested in fingering so much on this as I am, and you seeing the scale in a brand new way in these major thirds. That's all we're doing. We're just walking around in major thirds. We're seeing it like these 3 black notes, they're a group. These 3 white notes right here, they're kind of a group. But sometimes the groups get split up. Very good. Let's try that again and go a little faster. Ready, and... Good job. Now let's move up the half step. Figure out our next triads. Next one. Next one. And last one. So in this scale, we've got these 4 white notes in the middle. Sometimes they'll be in the middle, sometimes they won't be. And these 2 black notes on either end. That's how I kind of think about it. Okay, let's try it. So we've got this, and we go white note down here. That was all of them. Good job, and let's try it faster. Ready, and... Good job. It's pretty tricky. You can come up with your own exercises to do with the whole tone scale. I mean, we did the, right? You can do this kind of thing. You can come all the way up. I think that might be one of the easiest ways to see these notes actually as expanded augmented triads with the root on either end. When you want to put this whole tone scale into practice for moments other than dream sequences, I mean, it's solid for a dream sequence. If somebody's going to go to sleep, you pretty much want these notes under your belt. But you can take these whole tone scales and they will fit over certain chords. For instance, any dominant 7th chord built on one of these degrees will work with these notes over the top of it. Say, we'll take the first one. If we build a C7 chord, which we really haven't talked about yet, that's a C triad with a minor 7th on top. If we play that, and then with this hand, especially if we leave out the 5th degree, we've got a scale with which to solo or build a melody. Over this dominant 7th chord, if we drop it a whole step, the same thing holds. And if we drop it another whole step, same thing, and another one. And of course, if we raise all of that a half step and do it in the other keys, it'll work there as well. So it's a very handy kind of sound to have under your belt, especially when you're playing dominant 7th chords. I know this was a lot. The whole tone scale is kind of a lot. It's pretty advanced. But it's also just part of the keyboard, the way that things line up and the magical mathematics that happen when you start delving into music theory. So I wanted to share it with you in this first 30-day series. Rest your brain a little bit, rest your hands a little bit, and go do something mindless. I'll see you tomorrow on Piano Yoga with Aimee.